Welcome to the Lore Escape 3333 subscriber special. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking an interest in the channel. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you all here. I want to thank you all for your support, your amazing comments, and most of all, the time that you spend here on the channel. You might not be able to tell from my, shall we say, irregular and infrequent upload schedule, but I have a huge backlog of video ideas. I'm always trying to find time to work on them, so I haven't taken the time to pause and celebrate until now. To mark this milestone, I'm going to explain a little bit about why this channel exists, what my approach is to putting together these lore videos, and a little bit about what you can expect from the channel going forward. Why is it called Lore Escape? Well, I'd like to think that this channel is a place to dip into settings and stories that aren't often explored, in a way that provides a break from everyday stresses and responsibilities. That's why, as a general rule, you won't find hot takes or clickbait here. I try to make every video something that I would love to stumble across, so it's great to see them finding an audience. I love seeing any time someone calls out a joke or reference because it means that we have something in common, however silly or obscure it might be. I've been wanting to do a YouTube channel for almost as long as there's been a YouTube. But it wasn't until about 7 years ago that I had a small break when I could spend longer stretches of time here. I started seeing that a lot of folks had built whole channels around some very niche subjects. This was a different approach from the broader pop culture, film commentary, and comedy skits that I was familiar with in the early days of YouTube. Chief among these was Defunctland, a channel built entirely around documentary-style approaches to old theme park rides. Obviously, by that point, there were many LEGO-centric YouTube channels, but at the time, there weren't that many that dealt with a subject that I've had a long-standing interest in, LEGO lore. There are a few exceptions to this. Trick Bricks breathed new life into my favorite adventurers sets with his reviews. I particularly liked episode 1 of his Adventurers Retrospective, which included a brief intro themed to the 1922 time period and lore of the sets. This, combined with Defunctland's varying documentary styles and genres, was a big influence on this channel. Seeing the LEGO Rewind retrospectives by Nick on Planet Ripple was particularly inspiring and nostalgic. R.R. Slugger's clear passion for the worlds of Rock Raiders and Time Cruisers showed me that retro LEGO themes could be covered with a combination of thorough examination and a sense of humor. But there weren't many videos with a deep and comprehensive look into the lore of LEGO, the stories and characters created exclusively for my favorite construction toy. Why am I fascinated with LEGO lore in particular? I think it has to do with the amazing scenes from the catalogs in the time surrounding my childhood, from the 90s to the early 2000s. These were golden years for original LEGO themes. These almost cinematic images took what could be generic settings and turned them into worlds brimming with adventure, ones that I could easily imagine continued far beyond what was shown in a catalog or an individual set. And in the mid-90s, themes like Aquazone, UFO, and Adventurers started featuring characters and locations that were even more distinct and specific. So when you bought a LEGO set, you weren't just getting a building toy, it was like you were getting a piece of this other world. Combined with the evocative photography and set designs was always a tiny bit of world building. Every once in a while there'd be something like the 6255 Gold Medallion pirate comic, a random Disney Adventures advertisement, or of course the official LEGO Mania magazine. These publications provided character names and short text and comic stories that left just enough space for me to imagine my own adventures. Flash forward a couple of decades, and thanks to the dedicated efforts of LEGO fans, these story scraps have been, and continue to be, archived and documented. Resources like the Eurobricks forums, the Internet Archive, the Biomedia Project, Brickshelf, Brickupedia, Brickset, Emily Internet Zone, and back-of-the-box builds are goldmines for LEGO lore fans. Through these, I was able to fill in the gaps of magazines and comics I'd missed out on growing up, and see publications from around the world that had their own takes on the lore. I think it's that combination of specific story world details with plenty of room for imagination and the online treasure hunt nature of finding new lore tidbits about old themes that makes LEGO lore so appealing. Much of the time you have to string these elements together, but sometimes there are tantalizing clues to a larger story that are eventually borne out in the most obscure of places. There's nothing like finding out that the UFO and insectoid aliens are connected not just through shared minifigure accessories, but by an elaborate and carefully written backstory released in only a handful of countries. Or that the pirate comic that I loved so much as a kid was continued in half a dozen audio dramas in Germany. There have been so many times over the decades, well before the channel even existed, that a friend online has reached out with one of these newly rediscovered tidbits of lore, and it never fails to make my day. Most I know only by their username. Some folks have channels here on YouTube. I'll include links to their channels in the description. For this video, I particularly want to shout out Sadie Meowsalot, who has contacted many of the creators involved in producing LEGO lore over the years, Runamuck, who has translated most of the LEGO German audio dramas along with his brother, Emily, who has translated and hosted the Time Cruiser comics and pirates material, V's on Wireless, who in addition to making great videos, has put a ton of work into editing Brickupedia articles, and Jamester, who in addition to documenting LEGO Universe and other video games, has tracked down and documented a number of important comics and magazines. Because a lot of this stuff is pretty obscure, I do get questions about where I get my sources of information. I try my best to make sure that all of my videos indicate the sources for both the visual images and the information itself. Admittedly, the formatting for this hasn't been the most consistent over the years, but I try to make a good effort so that anyone can go down the same rabbit holes I do. Since I use as many sources as possible, this is no small task. But generally speaking, if you're interested in something that I've mentioned, this is the first place to start if you want to track down the source for your own treasure hunt. In creating the LEGO lore video specifically, what I look to do is present a combination of every bit of relevant lore I can find in an interesting and logical manner, as long as it can be tied back to a LEGO product or something released under the LEGO brand. I do this because I really want to highlight the characters and world building LEGO has been doing since the 80s. In the past couple of decades, the LEGO experience has been increasingly tied to existing franchises and properties. Those products are fun, and I own more than a few, but LEGO has its own stable of characters and story worlds that are every bit as appealing as those from Star Wars or Marvel, and they deserve to be remembered in as full and comprehensive a way as possible. In more recent years, I've been pleased to see more YouTubers covering LEGO themes with a greater knowledge of and respect for the lore. Is lore an essential part of the LEGO experience? No, but it's one that I enjoy coming back to, and one that I'll never get tired of covering. That being said, one thing I would like to do in the coming years is to push this channel into exploring other lore avenues outside of LEGO. Now don't get me wrong, LEGO lore, especially lore from this particular era, is going to continue to be a main focus. I won't stop until I've posted a lore video for every theme and sub-theme from 1979 to 2013 and beyond, even if it takes another 34 years. However, I'm also eager to get into the lore of other toy lines like Playmobil and Fisher-Price's Great Adventures, as well as some specific retro topics from other worlds and franchises. Look for these in the years to come. In order to accomplish these goals, obviously I'm going to have to be more consistent and efficient in posting videos. Because I'm not a full-time creator, I can't commit to a precise upload schedule, but growing the channel is a big goal for me in 2026. I'm also starting an Instagram account where I'll be posting video updates, images from my collection, custom minifigures, and any mocks that I'm able to squeeze in. If you'd like to support the channel directly, I'm working on a few ways to do this. I have both channel and Patreon memberships available, where you can either chip in a small donation or sign up for a full membership for perks like early access to videos and your name in the credits. The Patreon member page includes ad-free episodes and show notes as well. But truly, in giving this channel your time and attention, you've already gone above and beyond any expectations I had going into this. Thank you so much to everyone who has gotten us this far. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. Which video did you come in on? Which one is your favorite? What do you like that is unique to this channel? Also, if you have any questions, I'll be setting up to answer them in the next subscriber special. Let me know in the comments, and thank you all once again for giving me this opportunity.